Welcome to another true beginners video, this time featuring the latest addition to the tanking roster, the Gunbreaker. This video will focus mostly on a basic approach to present the Gunbreaker's combat system piece by piece, level after level. But first I want to provide a short explanation what distinguishes our breaker from other tanking jobs. The Gunbreaker uses melee attacks in quick succession with lightning-like animations, while also making use of its very special weapon, the Gunblade. So fans of Squall or Cypher will definitely like it, together with those getting a DPS job's impression while still being a rock solid tank. For good reasons, sometimes you will get synced down to a certain level below your starting point, which is level 60. May it be an enjoyable fate, accompanied with friends or free company members, or the usual and very efficient duty-related leveling, that all can reduce your skill arsenal to a much shorter selection. So here we go to cover everything from level 1 to 80. Surely, like other expansion jobs, you can first get access to the Gunbreaker at the point you have purchased a copy of Shadowbringers or the complete edition. So if you're still running at the base game Heavensward or Stormblood or even the free trial version of Final Fantasy, you need to upgrade before you can hop into Gunbreaking. If you're running Shadowbringers, head to Gridania and navigate towards the NPC God's Quiver Bow in New Gridania to obtain the quest The Makings of a Gunbreaker. Like other tanks, the Gunbreaker will dress up in full metal plate armor that it shares with the other tanks, except its weapon and job specific gear. So if you already leveled up another tank, you can easily use its equipment. Nonetheless, the quest will directly reward you with a full Gunbreaker specific set. With that you can directly hop into any form of content. So without further ado, let us hop into a possible downsynced fate. And as we're not being reduced past level 4, our basic combo starter Keenblade will directly be accompanied by Brutal Shell and No Mercy. The first being a simple startup into our combo, dealing some damage, while Brutal Shell directly becomes a bit more complex, dealing damage as well plus healing the Gunbreaker by a small margin. Later on level 52 another effect is added, namely the Brutal Shell itself, shielding up the Gunbreaker in the value he has been healed. The absorption effect will last 10 seconds and is destroyed upon reaching the specific value. The most important thing on this level is No Mercy, which is the Gunbreaker's damage boosting cooldown, increasing the damage you deal by 20%. This already is and will be the most important skill where your later rotations evolve around. Like the masterful Fahros said, try to fit as many of your big attacks into this cooldown phase, namely the cartridge rotation, your dot and burst strikes, etc. But more to that later on the rotation department. By the way, if you want to see a true Gunbreaker in action, check out Fahros on Twitch, where he solos Palace of the Dead, and right now you can see him doing this as a Gunbreaker. So hop over to Twitch after finishing this video and check him out. So while being more important on later levels, you can also make use of the 20-second duration on low levels. But remember that No Mercy is also an off-global cooldown attack, which means that you can use it inside of the recast timers that your weapon skill attacks like Keen Edge or Brutal Shell cause. So try to use these so-called OGCDs like No Mercy after you caused a recast timer through any use of your weapon skills. After that, we're receiving our first defensive OGCDs in the form of Camouflage on level 6, bolstering our parry rate while also reducing our overall damage input. The parry system works identical, being a straight up damage reduce with a certain chance for each incoming attack. Rampart on level 8 works even more simple, being a roll command that reduces incoming damage by 20%, both defensive CDs lasting for 20 seconds and fitting to their OGCD nature, which means they should always be weaved in between weapon skills. In general, these can be used at any time you're hit on low level and should always be safe for so-called tank busters. Check out my Tanking for Beginners video to receive more information about tanking basics. On level 10, we are introduced to Royal Guard, being our tanking stance. That should always be active when you face content, with you being the only tank, or when you want to take the reins as main tank in 8-man encounters or more. Try to communicate by clicking the button at the start of the raid or with actual communication. When Royal Guard is active, all your attacks will guarantee your enemy's attention. Another thing added on level 10 is our AoE attack Demon Slice that is already stronger than our single target combo when facing 2 targets at least, except you're in need of some self-healing. Then choose the Brutal Shell direction. This will hit in a circle around your character. On level 12 we gain access to Low Blow, being a roll OGCD with the ability to stun enemies that is very useful for dungeons or against certain mechanics where bosses can be stunned. Level 15 adds Lightning Shot to our arsenal, being a ranged attack with kinda low damage output. This is a nice tool to help you in pulling foes in dungeons that are split up like crazy, or catch up some enmity on a foe that hops onto your healer or another ally. Surely, if you cannot reach a certain boss at a certain time due to a mechanic, you can use lightning shot as well. But if you can make that up with a sprint and running, without delaying your normal rotation for longer than a whole recast timer, just try to stick to your melee attacks. Above that, Provoke is added to your arsenal, being a role OGCD that will transfer all the enemy's hatred onto yourself. So if the main tank is dying or you need to make a so-called tank swap, Provoke is your best friend. On level 18 you get the first damaging OGCD Danger Zone, that should always be timed correctly with No Mercy. So by having a 30 seconds cooldown, use it once inside the No Mercy buff window and once outside of it, so that you're optimally hitting Danger Zone the moment No Mercy hits the 30 seconds remaining time. This becomes even more important on level 80. But surely, use it in between weapon skills for not delaying your weapon skills flow, which means always use weapon skills without breaking the cycle, and use your defensive cooldowns or OGCDs like Danger Zone right after using one weapon skill, but never use more than 2, otherwise you would delay the next weapon skill, which most players call clipping. Level 26 will give us Solid Barrel, which not only is the finisher to our Keen Edge and Brutal Shell combo, but also deals an insane amount of damage, while additionally granting us 1 cartridge stack upon reaching level 30. These stacks are being displayed inside of your job gauge that also indicates we cannot stack more than 2 at a single time. So before overcapping with these cartridge stacks, which means when using Solid Barrel or another cartridge generator, when you already have 2 of those, you would waste the next cartridge stack. Therefore make use of the level 30 ability Burst Strike, for example, that also hits like a 10-ton hammer. So until reaching the cartridge rotation, try to fit as many solid barrels and especially burst strikes into your No Mercy buff window. Okay, next up we have Nebula, being another very impactful defensive OGCD, reducing incoming damage by 30% and lasting for 15 seconds. This is your go-to tank buster ability, so use it wisely before being target to a strong uppercut. At level 40, Demon Slaughter is added to your arsenal, being the combo follow-up ability to your Demon Slice, also swinging your blade around yourself. Use this combo when 2 or more targets are available, because it also grants 1 cartridge stack that you can use for burst strikes in between. At 3 or more targets, don't use burst strike on any of them, just stick to spamming in Demon Slice and Slaughter. 45 gives us access to a true self-healing opportunity in the form of Aurora, that produces a regen effect on ourselves or another target of our choice. This comes in handy mostly for healing up some consistent damage income, but also can be used for producing enmity, because it will be boosted by our tank stance to make enemies angry. Of course, the best opportunity for this is solo content again, so check out Fahros for learning about its true value. The last one we received for being prepared on level 50 content is Super Belied. This is your avoid death ability that can easily cause your healers to rage sometimes, because it will render you immune to most attacks. After, you are reduced onto 1 health. No, not by enemies' hits, by yourself, my friend. Shooting yourself into the head seems to cause your own gear and body to turn into solid metal. But yeah, that is ultimately handy on certain kill mechanics to avoid them, or for helping with big pulls as long as the healer hasn't used his big healing CDs already. My personal tip would be to use it somewhere next to 20%, because healers are used to save up their lifesaver CDs for the last 10% life, so address that by using it before these 10%, but of course try to avoid it when it's not necessary. Surely, you can also turn this into a Harakiri button by using this macro I find on Reddit, but I highly recommend avoiding it in any group content. Okay, coming to the level 50 rotation, which should always be considered as a priority system until you reach level 80. Our prime goal is to fit as most burst strikes and solid barrels into our No Mercy window, like Fahros said. Above that, our danger zone needs to find place as well, but timing it right after popping No Mercy, you won't run into any issue. On the AoE rotation, use this one for 2 targets and this one if you meet up 3 or more targets. It's simple and clean here. Therefore, heading into level 52 adds up the already mentioned shield onto our brutal shell attack. While level 54 introduces a very powerful dot that again should always be timed into our No Mercy window. The big advantage of all weapon skills on the Gunbreaker, you can easily interrupt any of your combos without breaking their consecution, except mixing up AoE and single target combo. So make use of this feature for things like Sonic Break. On level 56 we receive our charge ability, also referred to as Gap Closer by many players, closing the gap between you and your foe. Being an OGCD that also deals damage, you should not hesitate to use it for that, especially due to having 2 stacks of it, where 1 stack can always be spent for damaging reasons, and if you're not sure if the second one is needed to overcome certain distances, just save it. Level 60 adds a very nice alternative to our rotation, that is the Gunbreaker's unique battle feature, the cartridge rotation. So by using one cartridge stack, you can start off this rotation with Gnashing Fang, followed by Savage Claw and finished by Wicked Talon. Being a DPS gain over Burst Strike, you should always favor cartridge stacks for this rotation, being a very strong bursting opportunity that of course should be placed in No Mercy's duration and kept on cooldown. So deal with it like you do with Danger Zone, with the difference of being a weapon skill combo rotation causing recast timers. So the rotation we're actually starting our level with is still very straightforward and should still follow on certain timings with No Mercy, and as your cartridge rotation is way stronger than Burst Strike, always keep it on cooldown and have it ready when No Mercy comes up. AoE wise, just use the Demon's AoEs on 3 or more targets, and at 2 targets replace Burst Strike with your cartridge rotation. Above that, you could also add Sonic Break onto one foe that does remain for quite a while to make use of the dot's potential. On 62, Bowshock is added to your OGCD arsenal, also being a very strong AoE dot that should also be placed into your single target rotation, whenever AoE opportunities are not available. Otherwise, don't hesitate to save it if the next AoE spot is closer than 15 seconds. But, especially at boss fights, smash it into your opener and into your No Mercy buff window, just inside of any recast timer. 64 introduces another mitigation tool in the form of Heart of Light that mitigates some magical damage to yourself and nearby party members. This comes in handy against heavy raid damage mechanics, but of course if you need mitigation for yourself and don't have group damage coming up next, don't hesitate to use it for that. The same thing but for single target mitigation is added to your arsenal on level 58 with Heart of Stone, whose plural not only is a very nice DLC of The Witcher 3, but also grants 15% damage mitigation to a single target party member. And above that, when being under the Brutal Shell effect, this shield is also transferred to the target party member. Okay guys, it's time to get excited. If all these other skills are the Squall and Cypher of our rotation, at this point level 70, this is the lightning to our rotation. Continuation causes each skill of your cartridge rotation to unlock a certain OGCD attack that can only be used right after the linked weapon skill, or at least until you hit the next weapon skill attack. That means Gnashing Fan will grant access to Jugular Rip, Savage Claw to Abdomen Tear, and Wicked Talon to Eye Gorge. So now you definitely need to take care that this cartridge rotation hits under buff windows when using it in the opener. Try to consider raid buffs as well, as these can make quite a difference and a significant amount of damage is dealt through the cartridge rotation and its OGCDs. Still, being a hierarchy of skills, an example for a level 70 rotation would look like the following. Place No Mercy just before pressing Solid Barrel, then you will continue with your cartridge rotation and don't hesitate to interrupt it with Sonic Break for example, as long as you're weaving in the respective OGCD attack linked to the cartridge weapon skill. So hit everything of a big boomy art into your No Mercy window and repeat your rotation until it comes up next. Use Danger Zone and your cartridge rotation near to 30 remaining seconds of the NM cooldown and repeat the opener again. On AoE matters, things are still straightforward. Add Bowshock to the most profitable mass of targets while not delaying it for too long, and use the 60 rotation according to the number of enemies. Until you hit level 72, that turns your AoE rotation into the most straightforward AoE rotation out of all tanks by adding Fated Circle to your arsenal, consuming a cartridge stack and already being stronger at 3 or more targets, so just smash it in and also consider using No Mercy on a big pull. Level 76 brings with another smart OGCD cooldown that you can use to kickstart yourself into any cartridge consumer. Bloodfest will directly grant 2 cartridge stacks to your gauge and is a very nice tool to form an opener, but should also be used on cooldown. Finally, level 80 brings with a transformation to Danger Zone, turning it into the mighty Blasting Zone with much stronger potency, highlighting the importance to use it under buff windows again. So here we are. While the base level 80 rotation doesn't look much different than the one on level 70, Bloodfest will change some little cooldown timing tweaks. So I highly recommend to check out my comprehensive Gunbreaker guide or any other Gunbreaker content that can be found on my channel. And of course, for receiving up-to-date information, check out the Balance Discord and visit Fahros on his amazing climb to witness the ultimate Gunbreaker power. I hope this guide could help you to carry out that leveling phase, and if you liked it, consider to subscribe to my channel. Check me out on Twitch, or for the most noble souls among you, I also have a Patreon page waiting for new members. Thanks for watching and keep loving Squall, Cypher, Lightning or just Final Fantasy in general. Until next time, stay healthy and take care.